Well, that was a doozy.
So, hey, York, I think it's time for the
Zach View.
finale.
Notice I said Zach View now. Okay, so yeah, there you go.
My other personality. There are some things in this.
So, will York be sticking around with us, or is he going off to marry Emily and
No,
heaven?
that's the thing, Jova. And you'll even see this later in the ending. But they also do the departure of York as a way for as a physical manifestation of the fact that Zach is now officially ready to get back into living. Now that he's there you go.
Finally, I understand.
Well, at least York and Emily get to be together in the afterlife.
Yep.
I'm sure he'll make you very happy.
Sort of a happy ending.
For both, yeah, and
But it won't cost a Jova.
Oh, now Harry's there. You go. Epilogue. Now Harry is gonna show up and explain exactly what he was doing in the White Room with us.
So, what about the police now?
Yeah, the police force is gone.
Yeah.
Not only that.
Don't worry,
it's
Job.
not even-
We're actually going to explain what's going to happen. Just hold on.
Zach, that story I told you the other day.
Without his mask.
Did you believe any of it?
Why is he still typing?
The fact of the matter
I don't
is
know.
that I couldn't save Emily. So it really doesn't matter whether I believed you or not.
I'm very sorry about it.
Why does he still have his filter?
I don't know, Jova. Maybe he needs it to talk because of some kind of problem he has. I don't
think
know.
that's the boxes on his throat.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Maybe he
I
has.
did not see a box on his throat, but if there is one. Oh,
There
there
it is, right there. You can see it there.
Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah.
About what,
Okay, you
Zach?
get it.
Your last name isn't really Stewart, is it?
Oh.
What is it?
That is correct.
Woodman?
Harry Woodman.
You're related to George!
Yes.
Oh, wow.
You were there in the
So
White
why
Room
did he
last
lie about the Raincoat Killer? He was the original Raincoat Killer, wasn't he?
No. His father was, but hold on.
Long ago, I too was unable to shoot my wife.
Oh.
What's worse,
The cycle again.
I was also unable to kill myself.
And that's why he was helping us. He as a way to redeem himself.
Why did you wear the mask the whole time?
I think he was afraid of a gas.
Suffered from
That would explain it.
but I still loved her. I wanted to save George too, if I could.
Oh.
Everything was my fault.
So there you go.
I had the courage to make the right decision. Emily and the other girls would not have died.
Not sure about Carol, but yeah.
I wonder if they are happy.
Um,
Don't worry,
yeah, let's just boost that.
York will guide Emily and the other girls into the forest.
And by forest he means the afterlife. It's symbolic. Just roll.
And Thomas too, why not?
Well, that's the
I
thing,
guess
Shiro.
Thomas counts as one of the girls.
That's the thing, Shiro. Thomas was kind of a tragic victim because, yeah, he don't get me wrong, he did bad things, and that's not excusable. But he did it to please George. That's the thing. That's the sad part.
No, I mean, it's just they kept saying, the girls, and it's like, and Thomas.
Well, but Thomas, as you know, is well. Hold on.
Bye, Emily.
Hey, Michael. Mind stopping the car for a moment?
Very well, Mr. Francis Zach Morgan.
At least he's not rhyming.
Farewell, Mr. Francis Zach Morgan. Just please make sure not to stay too long mourning.
That was terrible.
3 out of 10. Oh, you too.
Hey, kids.
Oh, we adopted Willie, I guess.
So I guess in this version, Willie's a good boy since technically.
No, that's a thing, Jova. Nobody's aware of that Willie's because remember the subplot was deleted, and and there's also the
Which
fact.
is-
So it never happened. So
Well,
yes,
It's
he's
a
a good boy.
walking sequel bait, essentially.
Well, that's my point, Pedro. If it never made it into the story, then it never happened. So
That's the thing, Jova. According to Swery, it's still the real answer. It's just that the game never actually properly explains it because of the cut
Yeah,
content.
but that's the thing though, it's not in the game. So.
Oh, I know.
Well, that's the thing. Anyone who doesn't read that interview, to them, Willie is
Sure,
still a good
sure.
boy, unless.
Oh, sure.
Unless-
Oh, they're fine.
So the dog got away with it.
Yes, the dog got away with it.
So, how did the boys respond to the fact that they woke up nearly murdering
That
people?
being said, Jova, there is one let's face it, pretty clear hint that Will is not that the truth about that there's some hidden truth about Willie, even though it's not. Hold on, wait till the end.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
I understand. We'll do it for you.
They're doing that
Emily
typical
Clemens-
cliche in movies where the
Kids
soul.
can speak to dead people.
Yeah.
Thank you. Where did you get this?
Emily asked us to give it to you. See? She's over there.
Over there.
There's another Zach there too. You're twins, just like us. Emily couldn't give it to you.
It's a bit more complicated than
She
that,
said
boys.
she's too embarrassed. So, she asked
They're
us to give it
innocent.
to you. Emily really likes you, Zach. She really likes you.
Way to twist the knife in, child. Or the scissors, I will add it.
Again, they're none the wiser.
Not me. She really likes that guy York. The guy you see standing next to her.
Aww. Well, Zach, there's plenty of other fish in the sea
Anyways, you two.
who are living.
Be nice to them.
That's the thing, Jova. At the beginning of the Premonition 2, he still lives alone, so apparently he. Well,
Boring.
Well, you
If-
know,
well,
baby
actually, hold on.
baby
Well-
steps.
Well, actually, to be fair, that's if you take this original version, because the director's cut changes that. But we'll get back to that in
guess
the
we'll
in the extra part after this.
Gotta love him. Just full of energy.
Man, what a narrative.
I find it also interesting how the grandfather was kind of built up to be a grumpy asshole, but that really didn't amount to anything
No,
in the end.
it's not so much that, Theo. It's more so the fact that he wants to protect the innocence of the boys, which is why he really wanted.
Now, there was also the fact that Vito was sitting talking to York and say, just, talk to me at this particular time instead.
No, Jim is a good guy. He's just a bit paranoid about the material
Grumpy
world.
old man, nothing more than that.
It's understandable, really.
That said, though, we still have to answer the question, what gave York the ability to physically change into Zach and vice versa?
Mr. Francis Zach Moore.
Well, Joe, but Joe, I've always interpreted it that it's literally just the dual personality thing. I never really
Oh,
saw it.
now he's rhyming again.
Well, the problem with that page is like, well, that implies that, he had that appearance all along, but...
Oh, you mean that? Okay. Here's here's the thing. I've always interpreted it that Zach always had white hair. He just changed to red. The reason we saw him, this is my theory, of course. Don't take it as fact. My theory has always been, Joe, that the reason we first see the child version of him as with the brown hair is to hide the plot twist before. That's my guess. My guess is that that's how they did it. I can't say that's genuinely what was the intention, but I've always interpreted it that way. That's how that's what I think, at least. But feel free to.
I guess with the way the game goes, we're kind of led to believe that, like almost everything else, it's supernatural in nature. Zach, what are you doing with that gun?
I can imagine potentially Zach was like the influence, the concentration was of the underworld and the red seeds that triggered that change.
And by the way, even though George is dead,
guys,
I can still use the fast travel. Don't ask
the
how.
entire police force is busted.
Yeah, who are we
But guys,
calling? The
don't you,
ghost of George?
But guys, don't you see? While York was very conservative, Zach has no issue having a gun around on his person all the time.
This also okay, so for the epilogue, we get the ability to do any of the side some side quests before we only see the ending of the game and properly end it when we want to. The game will give you the chance to just go through the rest of the post game if you want. You still in town, Zach?
Oh, good. Everyone knows his name is Zach. That's nice.
Everybody, let's just say, Jova, they've been notified of what happened by Harry. I'll explain later. That's cool, real cool. Go ahead.
If there are, say, some side quests that you haven't finished yet at this point, can you finish them as Zach, like, and say something like Red Dead Redemption or Red Dead Redemption 2, where essentially, for the majority of the game, you play as a certain character.
Yes,
but
yes.
for
That map you just bought.
Well, let me explain. If it's a side quest that's still available at this point in the game, Yes. However, like I've told you before, there are chapter-specific side quests. But again, finish the game, you unlock a chapter select, you can just use the chapter select for those.
So, do you get like a case where Zach gives different dialogue based off of his reactions to side quests that, as opposed to what York would give?
Fortunately, Jova, the developers did think ahead, and they made sure that the voiced dialogue is vague enough so that they didn't mention his name, and they only changed the York to Zach in the text-only dialogue.
When she calmed down,
Okay. Oh, clever. So they never have him addressed by name in the voice stuff. Okay, but what about, say, Zach's reactions to stuff, though?
Oh, it's the same. The only difference is that it's the line was recorded differently to reflect the fact that Zach speaks slightly differently.
Oh, wow. So a lot like Red Dead Redemption and Red Dead Redemption 2.
Or also like this reminds me more instead of Spider-Man PS4, where Peter,
Which is interesting.
They have two different types of lines for Peter, if it's in the middle of the action or if he's just standing quiet.
There's also there's also the fact that I'm thinking right now. If I remember correctly, Jova, I'm actually. Your comment just reminded me of something, actually. Allow me to correct myself. Sorry about that. The only side quests available in the epilogue, aka the only chapter where we get to play as Zach throughout Greenvale, are Keith's, which, as you can see, Keith never actually addresses my name except for the text-only dialogue, so that's perfectly...
He just calls him FBI guy.
He just calls me FBI. There's also... God, what's his name again? Wesley, aka the gun salesman. He never mentions me by name, so the dialogue still works. What other? There's also Harry, but Harry's side quest is only available in this chapter, so he just says Zach. No problem. No need for a contingency there. Same thing with Michael's side quest, because we're gonna get a Michael side quest, aka Ares 8 side quest. And I think that's it. I don't think any of the other... I think in order to do any other side quest, you have to use the chapter select to go back, and those you play as York. So there you go.
Okay, so that's kind of a clever deal to save them the work. Oh well.
I never thought about too much, but yeah, now that you ask, yeah, it is pretty much, yeah.
Again, I'm willing to bet that Zach would have actually wanted to know what was in the pot.
That's a good point. What would be Zach's opinion of what?
See, okay, York strikes me as the guy who's too cool to always want the answer, but Zach definitely strikes me more as a guy who would want the answer.
That reminds me, by the way, now that you guys have officially been inducted into the DP community, you guys now have to do the same thing that we older fans always do when talking to newbies about the game. You have to say, you hear that, Zach? He seems confused about what this game is about. I did this to Shiroi back when the sequel was first announced, and it's always fun to do the Zach thing to people who don't know anything.
Zach, they want to know what's in the pot.
Because you may know, like, for example, now it's no longer. For example, when the Premonition 2 first came out,
I remember the comments were all like that.
Yeah, not to mention, and when the sequel first came out, when the sequel was first announced and the release date was announced, Swery posted a pinned tweet on his Twitter and said, "Hey Zach, turns out our next adventure releases on insert date here." Anyway. Now he talks to York.
Oh, cool! So he can still.
There you go. I'm all alone on this side now. He says. There you go. Hold on.
For so long having you with me. I need to get used to being on my own.
There you go. That's why. That's why I've always interpreted that as York leaving is the sign that Zach is now finally ready to start living. Yeah.
One more thing, York. I hope things.
I guess my only thing is I'm kind of leaning towards it being supernatural because pretty much every other thing in this game has had the answer it's supernatural. It's supernatural. I guess at this point we might as well consider that George's super speed and teleportations as the wrinkle cure was granted him by the red seeds.
There's also one fact that I checked in the meantime that is mentioned, like, for example, on TV tropes. But I do remember hearing that in some of the parts of the game, but I didn't pay too much attention. A lot of the NPCs and our characters in general tell much about York's car, even though it doesn't look like much. But supposedly, I haven't seen specifically, supposedly Zach's model actually has a bigger scar. So I wonder if the interpretation to get from here is that everyone just saw him as the Zach we're seeing right now, but the player has seen that he looks like what it
That is
like York until that moment.
That is a possibility, yeah. But that's definitely one of the things that Swear will not tell us because he wants us to feel free to come up with our own conclusions.
So
Of course.
interpretation, yeah.
I want to know how Zach
That still
got
ties into the whole us being, well, York
Zach.
this time, actually.
Well, to be fair, if he spelled out everything, it wouldn't be as fun. Anyway,
Well, okay. Actually, this does beg the question, unless this dialogue is important.
nah, go ahead. You can. I'm just fucking around. Go ahead.
So, if I recall correctly, Sweria said he wanted to make a trilogy of these games, right?
No, he never said that. What he did say is that, he said he would love to make a sequel back in 2011 when Destructor asked him about it. But for a long time, people were thinking, oh man, I would love a sequel, but I just don't think it's going to be possible. But Swery is known for being very tenacious about wanting to get his projects made, and that's probably why the sequel got made
And
eventually.
considering at this time he's still actually developing right now The Good Life instead.
The Good Life, yeah.
He wasn't going to multitask, instead keeping one game at a time, but no, he was doing Good Life, the sequel to this, and also that game he's doing with Suda51.
That's the thing too.
So-
Good Life was originally a Kickstarter game, but the Kickstarter failed, so that game is a bit on the up in air.
He said that he's still doing it, just at his own pace.
Sure. I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
Anyway, my question, has he ever hinted at wanting to make, like, something up to, like, say, a Deadly Premonition 3? Because I can see a certain pattern going here.
Well, that will require knowledge on how two ends, and I think none of us actually know at the moment.
I don't know, but I have a bit of a theory. Imagine, per se, this, This game was obviously us playing more as York. From what I understand and from what Pedro's told me, it sounds like the idea with Deadly Premonition 2 is to be both a sequel and a prequel, with most of the action happening as York, but we still get scenes with Zack, so maybe a split between the two. So I wonder if a third game would finally, tie the knot and have us play mainly as Zack for the majority of it.
Well, here's the thing, Jova. I only saw like the first hour of the sequel, so I can't really talk much about it. I don't know. I literally do not know. But the bits I saw where Zack is he's just sitting in a chair being interviewed by Elia Davis, aka the female protagonist of those bits where we play as. Technically, we're not playing as Zack in the sequel bits. We're playing as this new character called Elia Davis, who's investigating an old case that Zack, quote unquote, worked on, and that's why we flash back to that case and explain, and that's why we flash back to 2005 with York. So.
Well, I guess my point is I wonder if the sequel might, again, I don't know since I haven't seen the game, but what if it's building up to a potential third game where, again, we finally play as Zack for, actually get to play as Zack for, the, let's call it the main bulk of the story.
I don't know, we'll have to wait and see.
I'll say this, though, now that I've experienced the DP experience, well, not completely, but
You're almost done.
Now that we're nearing the end of it, though, I'll admit I'm all the more hyped for the sequel, though from what you tell me, the director's cut got people the director's cut was what got people expecting a sequel in the first place, apparently. What?
This sounds like Discount American Idiot from...
I already said
that. She already said that. This track is literally called Racing Idiot. It's an intentional reference.
Don't you see, guys?
Maybe.
Now...
No, guys, don't you see? It wasn't Dwibs that said it. It was...
it was the other Dwibs, apparently.
Wait.
Biff. Yeah, Biff said it.
I think you mean Dwayne said it.
It boils down to this.
No, Joe, but Biff. Biff is was my alter ego. Unfortunately, he got lost and...
Interesting name.
It boils down to this.
From Back to the Future.
it boils down to this, Jova. The first, it came first from that 2011 interview where he was asked about would you ever plan on making a sequel? He's like, oh, I would love to make a sequel, and that's it. However, then when the director's cut came, we did get a possible tease that gave us hope, but that's all. But we'll get to it in the next part after this.
Oh, the art gallery?
Actually, no, this is Harry's house.
Anyway, check Pedro. Yes, Good Life is still actually in development because I do remember correctly. The last thing we mentioned, we was mentioning because it's also being made for Nintendo Switch, which also got a spot at one of the Nintendo Indie showcases. So the game is technically still being made. The development studio is called White Owls. I don't know anything about them, so we don't know how much capacity this.
All right. So Harry.
Zach, you don't feel like leaving this town yet.
No, might as well finish the side quest while we're at it.
Something's making me want to stay a bit longer.
Well,
Yeah, Pedro.
visit.
A game?
Oh, but
Is
you
that
still...
another alter
Oh
ego
boy!
of
Oh boy!
Another statue puzzle.
Another game show.
Oh boy.
And yet
All right, and
still
this
will
one is-
never get to have that chess game with us, show.
And guess what? This is a trivia game about this game.
Might as well.
Pay attention, there'll be a test.
There literally was a test at the end, literally.
Okay, so basically, if I get 15 questions correct, I win the money.
Yes. Get 3 correct answers in a row to clear it. Why not give it a try? There you go. It's only available in chapter 26, Jova, aka the epilogue.
Oh.
See? All right.
Only 3 questions. Okay.
Except I don't think we have the threat of death like in Banjo-Kazooie.
Let me guess, the questions are... Let me guess, the
questions.
questions are random, aren't they?
They're randomized, yes. They're always randomized in these side quests. All right. First question.
Oh,
Sheriff's assistant.
Sheriff's assistant Thomas also worked at which of the following?
Well, actually, Dibs, Theo is playing Harry, if you don't mind.
Harold's Galaxy of Terror.
Very good, Jova. You've been paying attention. All of that question was easy. All right, Theo, get ready.
Yes, talking. All right. Where did the trainers attack York? Well, this is easy. We saw that a couple of minutes ago.
Scissors.
They're becoming Caesar Man.
oh no.
Again, Clock Tower reference.
Yay!
Actually, who should voice that? You know, since he and York were different people.
Well, Jeff Kramer voices both, so I.
Yeah, he has a point.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Oh.
How did
Similar to his mother's cooking.
how did Thomas describe Emily's cooking? That was one of the lunch scenes. One of the lunch scenes that we had. Yeah, Amazon Frontier
God.
cooking.
You know, it's funny, honestly. We got to know Emily
Perhaps it's
first
just a
via
song
the
that I
side
put too much
quest,
heart
you
into.
know, and we criticized her cooking and all that. Thought she would get better. Now she can't get better.
I was told that life is beautiful, but it's not.
The confidence that is York almost compared her food to sewage.
Damn.
All right.
Well, sure, maybe...
The Francis York Morgan child trading card. Thanks, Harry.
Wait, hold on. Shouldn't it... Oh, wait, yeah, I guess it is York, technically, since he has
Why do you
brown
have
hair.
that?
That's the thing, Shiroy. According to Wesley, the gun salesman in this town, there's a big thing in Greenvale about collecting trading cards. Don't ask me where these trading cards came from.
Do they take your photos just like, oh, you're a trading card now?
Yes.
Apparently.
All right, there's another side quest involving Michael. So now, Dwebs, you get to... Well, actually, no, it's mostly voiced, I think, so...
What is this, a diary?
Michael's diary, specifically.
Oh.
What's this? Day 2190. It's my 6th year working for Mr. Stewart. On this special day, I have noticed something terrible. I've lost a most precious object. Day 2192. I've looked everywhere, but I still cannot find it. I cannot.
I
discuss
smell a side
this with
quest.
Mr. Stewart. What should I do? The precious bird carving that he gave me. Where did I put it?
All right, Zach,
Day
time to put your
2193.
detective knowledge to the
I've
test.
searched inside and
Without
outside,
York's help.
even in the car. I've looked for it at night so Mr. Stewart wouldn't find out, but I cannot find it anywhere. Maybe I should just give up.
Oh.
Incomplete treasure.
Did the dog steal it and it's in the kennel?
The dog did steal something, Shiroi, but we'll figure out in the ending. Just wait a few minutes.
Oh, okay.
Like I said, we are gonna get one hint at the very end that there's some kind of hidden truth behind Willie that we don't know. So there is one clear hint that Willie is evil.
Come to think of it, wasn't Kaysen just an extension of the red tree? Like, shouldn't we chop the red tree down just to be safe?
That's that's the thing. I don't even know those things can be chopped down. They're supernatural trees. I don't think anyone has ever tried. At least not. I don't know it. Trust me. I'm just spitballing at this point.
The Gravekeeper didn't seem to mind, actually.
Well, yeah, that's probably because he doesn't know how evil those things are. You know what's interesting, Jova? At the beginning of the Premonition 2, Elia does interview him about the Greenvale case and how his case report on the whole thing. And the moment she mentions red trees, Zach goes, nah, don't say that. Zach is all traumatized.
PTSD.
Mr. Francis Morgan,
There you
may I
go.
help you with something?
To be fair to you, after a case like this,
Yeah, I
it
can
would be hard to
imagine.
look at trees in general.
Sorry, Michael.
Also, he already had trauma issues, so he's probably susceptible.
Yeah.
I'm so shocked. I'll stop rhyming for now.
Oh,
Where did you find this?
Thank
Stop
you.
rhyming? Oh my god.
I'm so mad. I'm so mad that I'm not gonna rhyme anymore.
Of course.
This is bullshit.
It's a lot to you. But why does it have no eyes?
Mr. Francis Zach Morgan, Mr. Stewart gave me this carving the day he adopted me.
Oh,
It was an unfinished
Yep.
carving made by Mr. Stewart.
No wonder
himself.
he's so loyal to him.
When he
He's
gave
in
it
a
to
way
me,
his
he said,
father.
When you grow up to be a fine man, as a son I can be proud of,
Well,
give you the
I guess he was a
utmost
better son to him than George was.
then you can finish the carving yourself.
So
I'm far from
George was
receiving the
once in the
eye
lap
parts
of
if I'm
luxury,
losing
but
the
left
bird
it.
itself.
I guess
And
to
I'm
be
far
once
from
again
the
king
best.
of the hill.
That's
but...
the thing, Jova. Remember, hold on.
Mr. Stewart,
Let me give you these.
Oh?
what are those?
These are.
Now we're gonna answer that question that you had, Jova. Hold on.
Have you forgotten my promise? What a fine son you turned out to be.
But I.
Oh, what timing?
Hold on.
It's okay, Michael. Objects are not important. It's your heart that's important. That's what I wanted to teach you. And you've learned it well. I'm proud of you.
Oh,
Thanks to Zach and your
Oh, here you go. Here we go.
we can stop our act now. You and I need to
Uh?
be a team and steer this town in the right direction.
So there you go, Jova. Harry is gonna be the one that steers this town back into shape, basically.
I had a feeling you would bring the
I mean, he already owns most of it, so.
Amazing. He knew exactly what was going on all along.
Mr. Francis Zach Morgan, you've been very kind to help me, and I appreciate it very much.
Aww.
Liquefied food
liquefied
trading card.
food? What?
No problem. Look after your father, okay?
They seemed suspicious at first, but in the
Also,
end,
he
it
has
was
Indian
all
art
hope and
for
stuff.
painting.
Red herrings, Jova. Red herrings.
Oh, yeah, well, it's like I said from the get-go. They were way too obvious to be the bad guys.
Alright,
It's like,
and now we're actually going to end the story
By going into the void.
into the hotel. But yeah.
And now...
I love what Zach says now.
York, tonight I'm going to sleep like a baby.
Honestly...
Yeah,
you've earned it.
no kidding. Yeah. Finally.
You've earned it.
Yes.
Alright,
The
and
winner is you.
alright, and now we get a choice. Do we want to keep exploring Greenvale a bit more just for shits and giggles, or do you want to actually finish the game? Yeah.
It's over.
Hmm.
All finished. It's time for you to leave town. Are you ready to go?
I just went to bed.
The higher ups will have a field day with these reports.
Let me guess, if you don't answer in time, it'll decide for you.
Yes.
I guess it'll just end.
Yep. This is goodbye.
Thank you for everything.
Until
No,
the
thank you, York.
sequel.
Sleep tight.
All right, this ending cutscene is also one that's it's very heartwarming to me. All right,
We've had some great times talking with you, old lady.
All right, gotta check out of the hotel. Oh, a picture from 50 years
That
ago.
picture.
Yeah, what is that picture, Polly?
Oh, that. We took it when the clock tower was built.
50 years ago?
They look so happy back
And no
then.
one questions, Kaizen never aging.
It was popular back then. Men were always around me.
Yeah. Piece of shit.
Sorry to keep you waiting. Just sign here, please.
Hold on, I'll let this bit here. Hold on.
Mr. Morgan. Mr. Morgan.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love what he says now.
I'm sorry, Polly. I was just thinking of a friend. Someone who was with me for a long, long time.
Yeah.
Must have been a really good friend then. Otherwise, why else would you remember him at a time like this?
Yeah.
Indeed. We used to fight, but he really was a good person. He's gone now, though. Gone away to a place where we can't meet again.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that, but if he's a friend of yours, I'm sure he's getting on just fine.
Thank you, Polly. You know what? I think so, too.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sure up in the heaven, he's helping Emily.
All right, now we'll get that hint that I talked about. Pay attention.
Okay.
Well,
all's well that ends well. Shouldn't you be driving away, though?
Also, where's your jacket?
they want to have like one of those, walking into the sunset type of ending, I guess.
But Zach, you're
Hold on,
leaving
hold
the
on.
car.
And look at this.
Hang on.
Zach doesn't smoke. It's York that does.
Well, you're gonna have a ton of lung cancer with all the packs that York smoked.
All right, here you go. Look at this. Oh, hey, Willie. What does he have there?
Okay,
A Kaizen doll. Oh, very bad doggo. Very bad doggo. So there you go, Joe. But that's supposed to be that's the leftover hint that there's something about Willie that we don't know.
That feels so Silent Hill 2-esque.
Like,
Very bad doggo. Very bad doggo.
yes. Well, so he, even though the side quest was cut out, he's still a bad doggo.
Willie's Revenge DLC never ever.
And that was Deadly Premonition.
That said, though, Zach, you should maybe turn around because just walking out of town is going to take you forever to get to, I assume back at FBI headquarters.
Oh, there you go. Here, producer Tomio Kanazawa, aka the founder of Toybox. Basically, his studio is the ones that responsible for keeping Deadly Premonition alive, basically. But you know what's interesting? You guys, especially Shiroi, have been and Dwebs have been quote unquote like Zach just said, fighting with York. Every time York says something about something bad about a food or drink you ate and stuff like that. So Zach saying that kind of reflects how you Shiroi probably feel. Like I'm guessing you probably feel the same way Zach just said. Yeah, you used to fight with York, but he really was a good person.
Yeah.
He's gone now, though, Shiroi. Gone to a place where we can't see him again.
What I'm imagining is that he's up in heaven, finally teaching Emily to cook.
Talking about, I could just rewatch the playthrough.
It's great because they keep the Zach as the player thing a lot going still, because I can speak for you guys, but to me, the way Zach, of course, still misses York and, of course, still feels nostalgic about it is the same way I feel after playing this game. So it really works on both in-universe and an out-of-universe level.
Considering the twist of this, now I'm very convinced that Toby Fox took a few cues from this for Undertale.
That's not surprising at all. Okay, so final thoughts. Teo, you want to go first?
Oh, where to even start? Okay, let me judge it. Let me try to judge it in pieces. Let's start with the most obvious things. In the end, it's the presentation. Honestly, I'm very forgiving when it comes to this game. The only thing that I mentioned that I noticed that I didn't really enjoy at one point was the soundtrack dissonance, and that's the thing that surprised me the most, because I'm usually very more tolerant towards this kind of behavior. But this was actually the first time in an actual long time that I felt it was not, that didn't felt right in some moments to just have like the more jolly theme happening.
Speaking of the Devil Tail, that's the guy you have to blame, Morihiro Iwamoto. There you go.
Yeah, good sir. I can understand you probably worked your ass out for this game with that budget of a handful of a turkey sandwich, but you chose wrong sound fonts. Sound fonts are missing all over the place, and the music dissonance is evident in some places.
Oh, I got this one. Location hunting. Washington and Oregon teams. Swery actually did go to America to study the locations.
Translation, these people went on a vacation just to sightsee.
Yeah.
So Pedro, well, does Amazing Grace return in the sequel, I wonder?
Yes, it does. York whistles it while he's skating around the town.
Remember, guys, it's like
that's right. That part where he has to skate while an alligator is chasing him.
Yeah. My guess is, again, Joe, it's like I said, the stores are like, hey, put Amazing Grace in. Americans will get it.
Why the hell not, you know?
No,
in
guys,
the scene while you're murdering a bunch of people.
It's like with Adam Sandler, you know, he does his movies just to get a vacation somewhere else. But anyway, oh, look at that, clever, the letters of the alphabet, like I mentioned.
A, B, C, D, E, ha ha ha.
Yes.
But yeah, that's another thing that I noticed. There are the people in the town have names that correspond to every alphabet with only a few repetitions.
Oh, I love that one. Willie Enigma. Ha. Ha. How cheeky, how cheeky you are, Swery.
Cheeky Willie.
Wow. So I was onto something with the whole XYZ thing.
But anyway, let me continue. But honestly, the sound department is really the only major complaints that I have. Sure, I can imagine the actual gameplay, like the shooting section and everything, and the navigation might be a bit stiff. But I can imagine that just with a very little polish, and I mean in terms of, like, say, the frame rate, I could really enjoy this kind of gameplay. So I don't really have a problem, but I can imagine it would have been turned out even more well if the team had the proper time and budget that Swery wanted for his vision to match. But that leaves to, well, what the story and characters entail. This is very surprising. I thought I never thought on what I could expect, because again, I heard the news, I heard the rumors that this was more based like Twin Peaks, so I was like, oh, I'm expecting like a complete clone, but then no, because we needed to create basically an original plot and characters do not steal. Or maybe it's something still homaging stuff. And yes, this is a product that homages other stuff, both video games and movies, and also series. There are still Twin Peaks references left and right here, for the more comedic stuff and the more serious stuff. But it definitely does take its direction. And one thing that I'm grateful for is the ending for that. Like I mentioned a couple of parts ago, I think, I was actually a bit scared that, remember, at this time when this game was made, the canon ending for Twin Peaks was the one that the series had at its cancellation, which is not a really good ending, both in terms of it's not a happy ending, and it's not goodly written for that matter. So I was afraid, we're gonna do that for a sequel, but no, they do similar themes to that, with the Zack and York's Switcheroo, but it still plays its own thing. If I had to say potentially anything for plot and characters, is the fact that some side characters are more developed than others, which can potentially thwart off a bit with the investigation, also coffee. And yeah, it kind of does spell FK. I guess that was what they wanted to convey. But But no, the character seems to be interesting. It kind of does remind me of Igurashi. The fact that, thanks to the supernatural element, I could watch this bunch of people just hang around, fucking around with the supernatural things in town endlessly and have the fun of a lifetime. It's kind of also the vibe I got from Gravity Falls. Gravity Falls, I think that I didn't mention the commentary, Gravity Falls is essentially this kind of concept that I wanted. Oh, thank you for playing. With 2 exclamation marks. Gravity Falls is that this concept, this type of escapistic concept, done to its natural conclusion. You know, this kind of endless quests about the supernatural, but done in a more slice of life stuff, which fits for me because it satisfied both the slice of life stuff, but also adds the unconventional, the surreal element that spices things from redundancy. But yeah, honestly, basically bottom line, because otherwise I will ramble for an eternity. One last thing about the villains. Oh.
Is there an after credits scene?
No, it's just loading the after credits scene.
That's what I asked, if there's an after credits scene. Aww.
You know what's a sad thing? Since it's a diner, you just know York is gonna order senior sandwiches for the rest of eternity.
Oh, hell yeah.
Look at that! Anna's the one serving them the meal.
Yeah. That's also another parallel to Twin Peaks because...
look at that! It started with Anna, with her lifeless corpse, and it ends with Anna there.
With the other victims.
They're all going to have sinner sandwiches for the rest of eternity.
Oh, nice.
You know, I'm sure they all like them.
At least Thomas is here, so he's going to provide even more different cooking, so there's that.
Again, I think that now York can truly help Emily cook better now.
Happily ever after?
Oh, it breaks my heart.
I guess.
Well, it's just a nice way to end the game, I think.
Yeah, right. I think it is. But let me ramble. Let me just ramble just a tiny bit more about the tragedy again and the villain revelation. Like again, I did joke it at the very beginning, but I kind of like still how the game progressively hinted towards Kaizen's ultimate villainy. There are still things we probably don't know, like how the cycle started in the first place, just how long has it been perpetrated, how much influence those cases have in the real world. Is potentially the FBI entirely infected with this shit? And is it really going to be the end? We get it that Willie basically hints that things are not really over, and we got a pre-sequel, so maybe there's some leftover stuff that needs to be resolved after all. But that's what we'd have to see. So yeah, honestly, I really like this game. If it performed decently on the PC, I would have actually played it, but unfortunately the more modern port that we got was for a Switch, and it's not still even an optimal one. So the limitation of the game sadly hampers it a bit. But honestly, I'm honestly glad that I actually got to see its entire, well, almost entirety, what it's about. Next.
Sure.
Well, this was definitely an experience. You went wrong about that. I can't actually. Okay, for the only things that I actively dislike, it's the not even just this. Like Tio already mentioned, the sound design enough as it is. It's more so the audio mixing. We've mentioned throughout this LP that it's not very good. Like half the time it's not even coming through both channels.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's too quiet, sometimes it's too loud.
Sometimes it feels like it's in mono and only goes from one channel to the other.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. And what makes it worse is that the text is also terrible, so there's nothing to even compensate for the audio design being bad. It's just, those are the only two things I actively dislike. The rest of this is very, like, outside of, the majority of the story and characters, this game technically is incredibly flawed, and I can't be mad at it one bit. It's such a joy. I've like, even for the side quests, I haven't felt like any of this really dragged on. Honestly, like this has really been a lot of fun. And yes, I love the characters, even the ones we're supposed to dislike, and the ones that don't get so much development aren't even really bad. Honestly, they're just okay. You know, it's fine. Like, and the story was just engaging throughout. It's a shame about the missing stuff, but I don't think I already said earlier. I don't think it hinders it all that much.
Nah.
It still gets its point across, and again, it's still engaging. And the music, I mean, the soundtrack is something else. I mean, sometimes it doesn't fit, sometimes it does, but it's still great regardless.
And
again, like, I just cannot be mad at or dislike the majority of this jank because it's just so charming. Like, I love pretty much every bit of this. And well, yeah, that's it. This was great, I'd say.
Jova.
Holy cow, what an absolute paradox of a game here. This game is broken. The gameplay is
outdated,
jank, to be very, very, very kind to it. The driving controls suck. The combat was not well thought out and planned here and there. Some of the mechanics absolutely collapse upon each other. It's an absolute train wreck to play. And yet it's a game that I can't stay mad at. Like, holy cow, to say this, the story carries this damn game.
Yep.
So far. The story and the characters here and there. Even some of the side quests here. Yeah, even Sigourney and her crazy old pots and everything. I mean, this game is oozing with personality here and there. Like, now, don't get me wrong. That doesn't excuse the game being broken in so many ways, but I can definitely see why people consider it the DP experience. Because the gameplay is the hardships that you must suffer through to enjoy the fine line that is the story environment and the characters of this luscious gaming environment here and there. Oh, boy. I will say this. I feel like, well, okay, I'll agree with the others. When it comes to egregious errors that did kind of mess with the experience, there were a few. The sound mixing, the audio engineering, some things not fitting, yes, even in this game, in context here and there. I will say this also. It did feel like there were some things the story could have maybe tried to explain better. I'm not talking about the Willie thing, like, you know, that doesn't really hinder the story whether or not. But I do feel like they could have explained better what was up with the whole supernatural world thing. Or again, how Zack and York apparently have this power to physically change. Because as far as we know, the change was actually physical the whole time. I mean, now, again, I feel like if this game did a better job establishing what's actually supernatural and what's not, it would have made for the optimal experience in there. Maybe they'll build more off of that in the sequel. But yeah, that's like my one major story issue is the whole, okay, maybe we went a little too supernatural, or we should have established the boundaries better here and there. That said, though, like I said, pretty much everything else is stellar here and there. The voice acting, the dialogue. This game feels so real in so many ways. It's sort of like Shenmue evolved into, at the time, modern standards here and there.
It's how soulful it is. There's a lot of love and care was clearly poured into this thing. And that's what carries it through.
If almost any other game came in a state this broken, I probably would have scoffed at the idea that it has this many legit fans, mind you, as opposed to ironic fans. But no. this is a game that works and you can legit like. Now, granted, there are definitely a lot of ironic fans because let's not forget this game is a broken and occasionally buggy mess, sadly.
Well, okay, let me help you there. Like, if you're talking about the director's cut and anything afterward, yes. But this 360 version, despite being janky and outdated, technically it's not broken. It still functions and enough.
Oh, okay.
The closest thing I could find were the missing sound effects here and there, but
I think about gameplay-wise. On a gameplay level, this original version is not broken. It functions. It's not great, as you've said, but it functions. That's the best compliment I can give it. It functions.
Yes, it functions. There are plenty of other bad games that function too, but yeah, okay, I guess broken is not the best way to put it, but I mean, normally that's what we would call a bad game, broken, but again, this game transcends that logic. Of course, this game transcends a lot of logic, but hey, whether or not that's an insult or compliment is very blurred with, again, how this game is. That said, it is still a shame that we never got to have that chess game with Usha.
Yeah.
Translation, the developers could not program an actual chess game into it.
Also, again, it's kind of sad, considering how, we started off getting to know Emily via her quirky side quest about learning to cook better. In the end, she has to violently sacrifice herself.
But I still love the fact that that she got to die on her own terms. Like, she was one. It would be so easy to just have Zack be the one that breaks the cycle, again, doing what his father could not do. But instead they made it a bit more interesting by having Emily be the one that does it. So it is a nice, great character ending for Emily, I would argue.
Although, so, is it still actually intended that Zack's father did kill himself, or did Keishin shoot him?
No, he killed himself, didn't you see? We saw it in the flashback.
Oh, yeah, that whole thing.
Basically,
again,
he couldn't kill.
Keishin was the one that scarred Zack. I don't understand why he just scarred him and not killed him.
That's eventually. My guess is he just knocked him out, and that was it. And then he left. He didn't think that Zack would be a threat. little did he know.
Classic rookie villain mistake. Not killing the kid who will later be your downfall.
Yep, classic.
But yeah, talk about the story here. What a well thought out story here. And it really plays up the angle of the culprits really being able to hide their more demented sides, shall we say. But it being somewhat subtle here and there. Like, Jesus, poor Tom. He just goes from the guy who makes some of the best damn lunches ever to, well, kind of psycho light. The whole dressing up and everything and trying to kill. Boy, Carol was a packet of walnuts herself in there with how nutty she was. Good God, here and there. And then you got George. Although, I'll admit, I was starting to suspect him around the time of the river stuff because it seemed like a classic, hey, let's pin the blame on the obvious fall guy Thomas so the real killer can get away. But even still, though, even in the end, there is some level of tragedy to whatever caused George to be that messed up. Like,
yeah.
Jesus, whipping Christ. Also, that kind of makes me wonder. So he's talked all about what his mother was like, but how was Harry as a father to him?
That's the thing, Joe. Remember, he did say when he was having that confession to us in the bar that he never got to meet his father. So it implied that Harry probably left his wife at some point, but then eventually,
God forbid, it was the wife that took the son away in a messy divorce and all that.
However, as Harry said, probably what happened is he did eventually find out that that Kaizen had gotten to his wife, but much like Xander, he wasn't able to kill her either.
And thus he became the new Raincoat Killer.
George,
as opposed to dealing with it.
So yeah, that's the main reason why Harry helped us. He wanted to find a way to redeem himself, kind of.
Damn. So how about that? His father was the original Raincoat Killer, and then his son was the new Raincoat Killer.
This guy just doesn't have any luck, does he?
Nope.
No siree. And then you got Kaysen. Like, okay, Kaysen is an interesting brand of villain. He's the guy who at first you suspect, but then the game tricks you out into thinking that, wait, he seems like too obvious. And then the game slowly but surely moves away suspicion from him very neatly, but still does leave a hint here and there. All the same. Although it's funny, we thought that the fat guy in the flashback was like an ancestor of his, but nope.
I
thought he was just a pawn in the whole thing, not the ultimate culprit.
The first major hint is, like Jova said, that it's in that first flashback where we see even his sapling clearly hinting that there's something about Kaysen that we don't know yet.
Wow, again, such a well-crafted out narrative here and there. Like, again, now I definitely want to see a crossover between this and Ace Attorney.
Again, first Swery has to convince Shutakumi, which, as we know, is hard to do.
Yeah, not impossible, though.
Oh, it's not.
Stranger things have happened.
Yeah.
True that. Also, I gotta say, between this, Clock Tower, and the crossover, Bell Towers are flipping cursed, man.
Yeah, bell towers are fucking cursed, yeah.
Oh boy. To cap it off, what a wonderful experience. So, Zach, shall we let the next person go?
Dwips.
Yeah, let me go. I've been trapped in the basement for the last 10 minutes. Thank you for letting me out. But anyway, my final thoughts. Okay, this game, even by 2010 budget tier Xbox 360 standards, this is not a very good looking game.
Nah.
No.
No.
Not really.
No, it is not.
The voice acting was surprisingly not as bad as I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be full of
hammy,
interns with people who either sound as robotic as a robot, or overdo it.
There's still some degree of familiarity with the cast that lives in terms of beat themselves, because most of these people, again, I checked on my resume, most of these people did work for Sega in the past for different things. So there is that.
But quite a lot of them haven't really done much of anything since this game.
Pretty much.
Even Jeff Craver, after this game, he pretty much retired from voice acting. He only came back for the sequel because, well,
he's in love with the character, so why not?
I liked reading the first one, so yeah. I actually kind of enjoy the music. On its own. Unfortunately, the main issue is when they pick all the mood whiplash the wrong placement of the music causes.
Yeah,
I love how we're pretty much all in sync regarding that.
A lot of people are, Jova. Go ahead.
My favorite tracks are the whistly guitar theme and the more
Life is Beautiful
somber guitar theme, the one that plays
the main theme. Yeah.
I mean, the story itself is also fine. Well, mainly the main stuff. I mean, there were quite a few good side quests as well. Namely the ones involving the weird supermarket guy.
Keith.
Yeah, but honestly, the whole gag with the pot got the pot gag got real boring real fast. It was almost as bad as the ice puns in Batman and Robin. It was fine the first few times, but even with Arnie doing it, I get sick of it after a while.
I will admit, the whole pot side quest did feel a bit like one of those rookie endeavors. Like, oh, don't you see? You won't get to see what's in the pot because it's meant to be a mystery. Like,
even with all the plot twists, I've never felt so betrayed.
It's more so a troll side quest than anything.
Who directed that side quest? J.J. Abrams.
I mean, okay, I get the purpose of that kind of trope, but I won't deny, I feel like maybe that side quest would have been better if there was actually something very cool or some reward we got out of it.
Sure.
Well, hey, maybe inside the pot could have been her leftover dinner. I mean,
And let me guess, her leftover dinner is a dinner that we can eat over and over and over again as a super special healing item.
Yeah, although maybe make it a bit more rare, so you can't just cheese the game with it.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's continue. Carry on.
I mean, okay, the whole there were quite a few interesting twists and turns, especially with especially with Mr. Ren Mustache. I was kind of sort of right with that whole bit where he got that woman killed.
Yes.
I mean, he did kill her, but I thought it was just careless manslaughter.
Little did you know that was actually a hint.
It was murder disguised as careless manslaughter.
Mm-hmm.
Fooled you.
As well as the whole, but I mean, he really could have done a better job trying to convince us that he really was having a hard time pushing that thing out of the way that woman was going to fall on.
Well, it was clever. Make it look like an elaborate trap that, if moved the wrong way, would result in death, which technically it was. So it would be so easy to make it look like an accidental murder.
Well, I don't know. Maybe slip and pretend you've hurt your arm, and therefore you say, "Oh no, I'm sorry, I can't push the thing. My arm hurts."
Of course, it was very, very poetic that he ends up dying by his own axe. Of course, that we shot back at him somehow.
Yeah, maybe that was. So yeah. Next time, everyone, if you have an axe being thrown at your face, just shoot it.
Clearly, that's the right thing to do. Well, to be fair, it still makes more sense than punching a boulder. So
Does it really? Or are they maybe on an equal plane of nonsensicalness?
More like Resident Evil is now trying to chase the Hollywood kind of spectacle for cheap action movie.
It was.
And is there anything else I can mention?
I don't think so.
Anything you particularly liked about the story?
I already did
I've already
say
mentioned that.
The gameplay. I don't think you've talked about the gameplay.
Oh yeah, the gameplay. Well, it looks basic enough. You drive and shoot stuff.
As someone who has...
Such a pity the shooting stuff doesn't look all that exciting.
I'll tell you this, Dribs. As somebody who actually has managed to get Deadly Premonition working on my PC, it does not control that well. Trust me, Pedro made it look a lot easier than it is.
I have years of experience. I got used to how this game controls.
Yeah.
I'll have to take your word for that.
I'll expand more on it in the next part.
I will say this: it controls it better than a David Cage game. I can tell.
Not saying much, but yeah, it's true.
So yeah, overall, I really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to the next game that has a bit more of a budget in some places.
Some places. Some.
I'm just looking forward to seeing York getting chased by an alligator while riding a skateboard. That was the best part of the trailer, if you ask me.
Being while being talked to all the time by a cat. I mean, yeah, it's from what I can tell, it's pretty much just Morgana as a human.
Okay. So,
Pedro, it's your time to close this out.
Okay, to put it very simply, the graphics, let's face it, this game never looked good, but hell, even in its badness, I still find its bad graphics somewhat charming in the way it looks. Like, there's just something about it, about the way the game looks. It actually does make me kind of enjoy it on an ironic level, personally. Again, like I said, the music, I love the sound mixing is terrible. We've already talked about this, but the soundtrack itself is if you ask me, excellent. It's full of catchy and memorable tunes, and the gameplay, the best thing I can say about it is that it functions. It's not all that good, but it's functional, which is more than I can say for the subsequent ports, let's just say. Unless, of course, you happen to be one of the lucky chosen ones on PC. But yeah. I'm not gonna go over that, but I love the story, I love the characters, just because of how surprisingly well told it is. The characters are all memorable and enjoyable, and that's the primary reason. Because don't get me wrong, there are a lot of things in this game that can be enjoyed ironically, like the clunky animations. It's a lot of, like the weird gestures, and it does add to that, campy, so bad it's good experience. But like Whitney said in her video, and now you go check the Premonition Archives. Now that you've all seen it, you can go check her channel, the Premonition Archives, for a lot of cool videos dedicated to this game. Like Whitney herself said, calling this game a so bad it's good game is not giving this game any justice. This game is not great because of its problems. It's great in spite of them.
Pretty much.
That's the true matter of, like, when you actually get into it, it's not. This is a game that is genuinely trying to be a good game. It just fails at it, but all the effort and love that was poured into it shines through thanks to the story and characters. Like Jova said, the story and the characters are the glue holding this game together. And that's the true magic of the Premonition experience. It's a game unlike any other, and yeah, that's worth preserving. It's a game that is flat out unforgettable, and it's just very hard not to love, just because of how much the characters are lovable, and because of the story being generally well told, with genuine emotional depth, and even just an overall well-paced narrative. So that was Deadly Premonition, everybody. I hope you've enjoyed it, but tune in for the extras part, where we're going to take a look at a little extra from the base version, and we're going to dive a bit into the director's cut to see what was added. So see you then.
See ya.